It's pandering to Donald Trump. I thought it was interesting that the framing was a room of black Republicans. Where are they? Where are they? Because
fast forward to today, Trump is president, and obviously there were enough black voters to help that happen. Okay, and moving on, cry your tears. All of this. Do you see how hyped they were? They had nothing.
Analysts who are groveling to become Trump's vice president includes Marco Rubio, Elise Stefanik, J.D. Vance, and North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. But Florida Congressman Byron Donalds hit a new low when he told a room full of black Republicans that he misses the quote-unquote good old days. Watch.
During Jim Crow.
So hold on a second, okay? This episode is so important for people to know and hear and understand, okay? Because what he's about to explain is true, okay? And I find it very offensive that any of these women on this panel would try to criticize him and call him names and slander him for telling the truth.
The black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
It's hard to hear him.
He has to add Saul Alinsky too. They were, these people who were part of the Communist Party that took over the minds of the black folk in America back around this so-called civil rights movement time. Y'all know I'm always so radical. My thing is always abolish the Civil Rights Act, okay? And it's a real discussion that we do need to have. We really do. All right, so so they think he's bad, but they ain't heard nothing yet. They wouldn't know what to do with me on this show.
A little bit, I think. But he's basically saying that during the Jim Crow period, which is post-slavery, like 100 years later, black people were in better condition than they are now, right?
when there were slave patrols and
Yeah.
and things like that. Well, listen, I can't say it any better than our House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. So let's take a look at what he said.
We would not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of young black people killing each other every day and nobody says any. I mean, there's people. So here's the thing, right? Like, there's people with priors who are able to take lives. I'll never forget. The reason why I tell that story is because I never forget hearing the story of a young black man who was on his way to a job interview, probably put in thousands of applications, and finally was getting an interview. And I think it was like 19, and he was backing out or something. I think he hit another car as he was backing out. And the person got out the car, and then they ended his life, right? They ended his life, and then coming to find out, this person had like 7 priors. Like, why were you even still, free to go end the life? That person was black too, by the way. So you see what I'm saying? So what are we really saying here? Do we really care? We're always trying to have some criminal justice reform and everything. Like, miss me with all of this fake stuff. You people are so fake, it infuriates me to no end.
How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
So my question is, does Byron...
That's not anything to be proud of. I don't know why she's putting up her cup. He's like raising her glass like, yeah, boy, we got them. You didn't get anything. He sounds dumb. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Byron is telling the truth. We were better off. Yes. Watch Uncle Tom, too, and you'll find out just how better off.
Does he not know the history, or is he just wanting to pander?
How dare you, man? Like, how dare you? Like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this episode. Okay, let me just calm down. How dare you? You sit there as a Jewish woman telling a black person they don't know their own history? How dare you?
Either did anyone else in that room, though. What's scary is when you hear the audio, there are a lot of people going, So it feels like a class needs to be taught to everyone in that room because segregation left you with no choice. Like you weren't picking the family. They were literally making you go to different places. They didn't.
We didn't care. Black people didn't care about these different places. Listen, let me tell you, okay? I'm going to keep it real. Nobody's going to say anything is perfect. What it should have been was people should have been marching for the state to step out of the actual business, right? The bureaucracy was the issue because there were white businesses who said, we don't care about having black customers. They can come in, okay? Because we have to pay our bills. And there were black businesses that said we don't care about having white customers because we have to pay our bills. Did you hear what I just said? There were black businesses. There were a lot more black businesses. Why? Because black folk had to rely on themselves to get things done. Yes, you know, and they didn't mind. There were older black people who would tell you that they didn't want all that socialism. They didn't want that communism. And when I hear people talk about this history that has been painted for me so much in school that it was this horrible, horrible thing because the sinks and whatever, the colors this and the this, that, whatever. And then I actually talk to people who lived during that time or actually see footage of that time. Do you know they rebuilt Tulsa? How dare you people sit on this panel and try to tell black people what they're supposed to know? I'm sorry, I don't know. I have to try to make it through this segment.
Allow for, so talking about a black person choosing to be with your family and then looking at the greater social scheme and the injustice of that, he must not know what it is. I mean, that seems like a far leap to not understand Jim Crow, segregation, and the separation of the race. I don't understand.
This makes me want to say that she's racist. I'm sorry. I know I keep cutting it off, but that's how I feel. It's like, damn, why do I have to take your allowed narrative? But because I know something different, so now I'm stupid? Is that what they're saying? You know, I've never watched this clip before. I've never watched it probably because I knew I would act like this.
Well, if he doesn't know, shame on him, because there is nothing worse, I think, that when people achieve certain status and certain rights and don't appreciate, take for granted the struggles, the death, the fights, the marches, everything it took to be able to give Byron Donalds the opportunities he has now. Because under Jim Crow, he couldn't vote.
No. Okay? The first Republican Party that was started in Texas was black people before Jim Crow. Okay? Like, please.
He wouldn't have been in Congress. He couldn't have married his wife. He's married to a lovely woman named Erica, who's white. Interracial marriage was illegal in Florida until 1969. He could have not gone to Florida State University. For over 100 years, black students were not admitted to that university. Over 250 blacks were lynched in Florida under Jim Crow. So for him to be waxing nostalgic about that era that elicits so much pain, that was such a dark period in the history of the United States, is offensive. And for him to be doing it as a black man, as a person of color, is even more offensive. What really drives me crazy, though, is that it's like every 3 months, a Republican says something more stupid about black history. And
how dare you again? Oh my God. I could not have been sitting in that audience. I could not have, okay? Because I would have been blurting out just like this. I would have probably been like, shut the F up and everything. Because they would have carried me out of there. I know they would have said I had to get it out fast. I don't accept your narrative of history, okay? Because you don't talk about the whole history. You don't talk about the Communist Party that came in to destroy the black family on purpose. On purpose. You'll never talk about that. This episode is really infuriating.
And slavery, right? I mean, last year we had Ron DeSantis saying that, defending that there was good things about slavery, skills that were learned that could be put to good use. Then we had Nikki Haley, who couldn't admit that slavery was the cause for the Civil War.
So my question to you, Sunny, is it stupidity like she says, or is it something else?
I think it's pandering. I don't think it's stupidity.
To whom?
It's pandering to Donald Trump. I thought it was interesting that the framing was a room of black Republicans. Where are they? Where are they? Because if you look at the stats, 81%, of black men are part of the Democratic Party. Black voters consistently align with the Democratic Party. Over 95% of Black women are part of the Democratic Party. So these Black men that he was speaking with, I'd love to see them. It would be like looking at unicorns. And so
Shut up. And this is why Trump got elected. And this is why, even with all of my, I have my own, like I always say, concerns about the new cabinet, right? But I enjoy every drop of leftist tears. I do, especially for somebody like Sunny Hostin. For her to sit here and say Black Republicans are a unicorn. They want to hold Black people into this chain of the plantation of the Democratic Party. Like the fact that it's still this discussion of a Black Republican being a problem is so sick, and just shows you how there's no type of progression in these people's thinking. They want you to stay low and under them. Let me again make this very clear to you. Now, I'm not a DeSantis who's going to say, oh, they at least learned skills during the, no, there were other ways to learn skills, okay? After slavery, you had people like Booker T. Washington, who was an ex-slave, who was telling Black people, don't worry about making friends, worry about being marketable. If people are going to come to you, if you have something they need, market yourself. And then you had W.E.B. Du Bois, who was never a slave. All he was a college educated, college graduate, telling Black people, no, you need to get them to love you and stop begging the white man or whatever. But you still were begging. And this is where a lot of this NAACP division came from. An organization, too, by the way, that Black people weren't allowed to be a part of for the longest time. It was not made for Black people, okay? And that's just a fact. And all of this stuff is divisive, and these people wanted to hold on to it. But whatever it is, what it is, something's like, let me just cover it. So look, fast forward to today, Trump is president, and obviously there were enough Black voters to help that happen, okay? And moving on, cry your tears. All of this, you see how hyped they were? They had nothing. And guess what? You never connected with the audience. You didn't know that there were people who were ready to vote for Trump. And now you're sitting here mad because tomorrow his inauguration is happening. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.